I stapled my brother's butt cheeks together. Story time. By the way, I'm using Titan Beauty, link in bio, check it out. So I have the gassiest brother in the world, and his farts are deadly. I mean, he could literally wipe out an entire country in one blow, no exaggeration. And unfortunately, I used to share a room with him. And every single night, right before we would go to sleep, he would blow it up. I mean, it got so bad that I would sometimes wake up vomiting. So I straight up told him like, hey, if you don't stop farting, I'm gonna staple your butt cheeks together, bro. And I guess he didn't take me too seriously because that night I was woken up to a foul smell and my brother laughing. So I got out of bed, went into my mom's office, grabbed her stapler, came back into my bedroom, and slapped it on his butt as hard as I could, aiming for his crack. And the staple was actually able to get both of his cheeks, keeping them together. And to answer your question, yes, he was in a lot of pain. And I also got in a lot of trouble. I caught my dad cheating on my mom. Story time. So my parents are married, and it seemed like everything was going good. You know, they never lied to each other. They were always honest with one another. In fact, they even decided to have another baby, and now my mom is currently 5 months pregnant. And I was under the impression that they were perfect. Until one day I overslept and missed the school bus, so I decided to stay home. And I was supposed to be home by myself, but I noticed that my dad's car was still in the driveway. And I know for sure he had work, so I figured he may have overslept too. So I decided that I was gonna be nice and wake him up. So I started to head over to his bedroom. But the closer I got to his room, the more adult noises I started to hear. And I could also hear a woman, but my mom wasn't home. So I immediately get angry and barge into my parents' bedroom. And I saw my dad on top of some random lady. And of course they were shocked when they seen me. Full story on YouTube. My boyfriend put our dog in the oven. Story time. So I used to date this guy and we're gonna name him Thomas. And Thomas was a pretty good guy, except for the fact that he had a little drinking problem. Now when I say little, I actually mean big. He would get completely wasted and then do the most bizarre things without even realizing it. Like this one time he got plastered and decided he was going to do the laundry. But instead of using laundry detergent, he used a whole bottle of Coca-Cola. You can imagine how frustrated I was. But nothing compares to this one day he decided to get drunk. I was in our bedroom taking a nap, but then I was woken up from our dog scream barking. So of course I ran over to her to make sure she was okay. But when I got to her, she was in the oven and Thomas was there holding the door shut. So I had to push him out of the way, take the dog out of the oven. The dog was fine, by the way. Then of course I had to beat him up and then break up with him. My life was in danger. Story time. 1 year ago, the day before Thanksgiving, I decided that I was going to get my hair cut. Unfortunately, everybody was booked except for one person that my friend referred me to. My friend gave me his number and told me that I would have to go to this man's house because that's where he would cut hair. So I texted the barber, set up an appointment, and Ubered over to his house. But when I get there, his roommate is standing outside and told me that he was going to be 5 minutes late. So I was like, whatever, I'll stand outside and wait with his roommate. Well, while we were standing there, some boy comes up to us. And his roommate reaches into his pocket and hands the boy a bag of pills. And tells the boy to go to his corner and if anybody's there, take care of them. And at this point, I'm just like, what in the ghetto mess? And then finally, the barber comes and takes me upstairs to his room to cut my hair. But in the middle of cutting my hair, we can hear his roommate downstairs screaming and yelling. So the barber grabbed a gun and headed downstairs. Full story on YouTube.
Me and my girl and 2 other guys are going to the wharf. I'm over here thinking it's so peaceful. We're walking around. A group of guys approach us and they're trying to fight the 2 guys that are with us. There's a little short dude getting all crazy with one of my friends. So I get in the middle of the guys and I decide to look down to my stomach and guess what he has? He has a sharp weapon. And I was like, oh my God, my life is in danger right now. And this guy that is with us, I don't really even know him like that. Yeah, he's an acquaintance, but it's not worth losing my life for. And remember that he had a friend with him. He didn't even get involved. He was all the way in the back. How sad is that? So I moved to the side and the little short guy socks my friend in the face. And thank God he just socked him because it could have been worse. And what did we learn from this? Always have friends that are down for you and always have something to protect yourself.
My best friend's boyfriend starts DMing me on Instagram. He confesses that he had a crush on me when we were in college together, and I told him that I did too. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. From that day on, he would DM me every single day and we would just flirt back and forth. I started feeling really guilty and I told him one day I can't do this anymore. That's when he told me he also felt guilty and that the best thing was for us to stop talking, so we did. I was so sad. A few weeks passed by and my best friend asked me if she could have the apartment all to herself because she's planning a romantic dinner for him. I said yes, but I felt so jealous. Left the apartment because I realized that I was so in love with him. I went to the supermarket and ate a whole pack of Oreo cookies and went to the movies. I get a text message from my best friend asking me to come home immediately. My stomach sank and I thought she had found out. When I get there, she's crying and she says that he broke up with her. I asked if he said why and she said because he was in love with another woman. My stomach sank again. I was there with her the entire night while she cried, knowing her boyfriend left her because of me. Part 3 is up. My best friend's boyfriend had broken up with her because of me. I didn't have the heart to tell her. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. A few days later, she started going out on Tinder dates again. I could see that she was feeling better, so I decided to confess to her everything. And she told me she could tell that he and I liked each other. Then she told me I should date him. Well, I didn't waste any time. I sent him a text message and asked him if he wanted to meet up for dinner. And when we did, he asked me to be his girlfriend. We dated for 6 months before he proposed. He even got my name tattooed on his neck. The only problem is that my mom thinks he might do the same thing to me. I don't even want to think about that because I truly believe that he loves me. But let's hope not. I've been planning the wedding and I asked my best friend to come. Of course she said yes. She's super happy for me. And she actually has a boyfriend now. Do you guys think my fiance will end up doing the same thing to me?
Story time about how I found out my boyfriend was seeing his ex. And yes, he's still my boyfriend. We haven't broken up. I just don't know what to do. Well, we've been together for 6 months. I met him through some friends, and every time we hang out with those friends, someone always tells me, hey, your boyfriend was hitting on so-and-so. And of course, I just never wanted to believe it. He's really attractive, young, and owns his own business, and I know that attracts a lot of women. So when we first started dating, I gave him the option to have an open relationship because I knew that he was surrounded by women that really wanted to be with him, and he also just had a really social life. He said absolutely not because he didn't want to share me with anyone else. I said, okay, then we're committed. And he said, yeah, we're committed. 2 weeks ago, we decided to move in together and we got a really nice apartment. Right now, we're actually in the process of moving in and buying furniture. Well, 3 days ago, my boyfriend butt dialed me. He didn't realize I could hear the entire conversation he was having over the phone. You'll never guess what I heard. Part 2 is up. Part 2. So my boyfriend butt dials me and doesn't realize I can hear the entire conversation. I could hear him talking to a woman. He was promising her that he would break up with me and move into the new apartment with her. And when she said, I won't believe it until you actually do it, he called her by her name. This is when I realized he's talking to his ex. The same ex he told me was toxic and abusive. He also told her that he only loved her and that the only reason he hadn't broken up with me yet was because he was afraid I would harm myself. And that's when they dropped the bomb. She says, well, I'm 8 weeks along. You gotta hurry up. She was pregnant. By the way, I listened to their conversation for 10 minutes. I knew that he was at his business, so I decided to go over there and see if I could find them. Finally, I spot his car and drive up right next to it. Roll down the window and I say, check your phone. This man didn't even know what to say. He grabbed his phone and he looks at it. The look on his face when he realized I listened to the whole 10-minute conversation. Part 3 is up. Part 3. So my lying, cheating boyfriend butt dials me and I could hear the entire conversation he was having with his ex, who he was cheating on me with, and who was pregnant. He gets out of his car and runs over to me. He tries to open my car door and asks me to get out, but of course I didn't. My cars and my windows were locked. He started hitting my car window telling me to get out, and I could tell he was pissed because he got caught. So guess what I did? I drove straight to his mama's house and I told her everything. He was a mama's boy and I knew this would crush him. So his mom calls him and tells him to come straight to her house. He started swearing up and down that he only said those things because he's afraid of his crazy ex and he doesn't want her to take the baby away from him. His mom and him convinced me to stay in the relationship. We're still together. I don't know what to do. Should I stay with him or should I leave him?
I run a small business where I do calligraphy. I do Redbubble stickers and wedding invitations. My brother got married to his girlfriend before the world went to hell, but there's an incident that she's still angry with me for and refuses to speak to me. For her wedding, she asked me if I would do the invitations. I was fine with doing them as a wedding gift until I realized she was having a 200+ wedding and wanted handwritten menus, invitations, name cards, as well as table cards with facts about her and her fiancé. And of course, she picked the most expensive stationery and most elaborate designs that she could. I was straightforward in telling her I wouldn't be able to finance this since I'm broke and saving up for college, but I would do it if she paid for all the supplies and I would just give her a regular wedding gift. She told me that we would work out the details, to which I assumed she meant the price and budget for supplies. So it took a long time, but I finished the wedding invitations and they're ready to go. I asked my sister-in-law to reimburse me for the costs and she flips her shit and refuses to pay me. She says I'm taking advantage of her and that I should be nicer because the wedding's already really expensive and I was doing this purposely to exclude her from the new family. What I did next is why she's angry and refuses to speak to me to this day. After my sister-in-law refused to reimburse me for all the money and time I had spent on her wedding invitations, I was pretty upset. And at this point I realized there was no way she was going to pay me for the menus and table cards if I made them. So I threw away all the invitations I had made. It hurt to see my work go down the drain, but I did use the designs I created for them as examples for my Etsy site. Unfortunately for her, it was too late to hire someone to make new invitations, so my sister-in-law basically had to send emails instead of invitations. However, she did manage to get the menus printed for pretty cheap though. After this, my sister-in-law wouldn't speak to me, and she still doesn't. My mom is the only one who's on my side, but my brother is pretty neutral about it all, and he just wants me to apologize and keep the peace. And the reason I didn't give the wedding invitations to her as a gift for the wedding instead is because it was way out of my price range. The stationery and supplies would have costed hundreds of dollars on my end if I had gone through with making all the things without reimbursement. So was it wrong of me to throw out the invitations when she said that she wouldn't reimburse me?